Very pleased to welcome Mr. Saeed Al Abbar, CEO of AESG consultancy firm. Thank you very much for being with us. We'll start basically in terms of energy within the sector and the design and all that. What are the best practices now being implemented in the region?
So the big driver now in energy is around net zero. So the whole decarbonization movement, which is happening globally, I guess, triggered from the Paris Agreement in 2015. So the best practice we're seeing is reaching net zero and actually even energy positive.
What about the district cooling and all that, what's going on? Some people are saying that it's something very positive, some people that it's not. What do you...
With any technology application, whether it's cooling technologies or renewables, the application is crucial. So you have to obviously apply it to the right situations, the right projects, and apply it in the right way. So that it's designed, engineered, executed effectively. Any technology or solution will fail if it's not executed effectively.
Policies, the governments in the region are very much focusing on lots of policies. We saw the unified ESG reporting laws for the GCC announced in January in Riyadh. That's for the publicly listed companies. Anything in terms of the green buildings and all that in this regard?
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing a lot.
To be aligned more with the global practices?
I think globally we're seeing, because the shift to sort of net zero carbon buildings has been so fast that obviously it takes time for the policies to follow through. So we're seeing globally that there is that lag, but we're seeing it come through as well. And I know that with part of the UAE's net zero 2050 strategy, that is cascading through into policies, whether it's the ministry level or local governments and municipalities to upgrade building codes and standards to align with sort of the decarbonization movement as well.
Yeah, we're hearing a lot of sustainable and smart cities in the Middle East, as you know, all across, with the UAE leading at the forefront. What are the challenges and opportunities in this regard? How can we basically spread the best practices in terms of sustainable cities?
It's around integrated city development. So obviously the opportunity is you're providing a city which obviously lower intensity on utility demands, which is obviously beneficial on to the infrastructure level. But I guess more importantly is providing a place where people prefer to live, work and play. So that creates value in the opportunity as well.
Sustainable tourism, as you know, Dubai have just announced the mandatory energy reporting for hotels. However, challenges remain across the MENA region, including Saudi Arabia, where you are very present with all the boom in terms of that. How can we elevate and spread sustainable tourism?
Well, I think
at the grassroots level.
Yeah, the hospitality sector and tourism sector is obviously an important part to a lot of the region economies, and it is a very also a high energy and water intensive sector with sort of environmental impact. So we obviously have to go those in hand as those sectors develop and become more prominent parts of the economies in the region. That doing it in a sustainable way is important, and targeting energy, water, waste and the environment impact is really the right approach.
How can we improve training and knowledge in terms of sustainable tourism and sustainability overall within the sector, consultancy sector? Because we've seen a lot that many are saying too soon, we're not ready yet. How can we make them ready?
Well, I think we're seeing a lot of positive initiatives. I mean, I don't think you can find any university degree now, whether you're doing accounting, law, or engineering, which doesn't have inbuilt sustainability focus. So I think that's the graduates coming through have got that. But I guess it's retraining existing professionals as well.
What about the private sector? The government is at the forefront. The academia are also active and present. However, implementation, because as you know, it's all about action and implementation. How can we improve the percentage of the rate of implementation?
I mean, to me, it's through policy. I think with the private sector, the theory of change you get from private sector actors is you'll get 5% of the market, which will be your market leaders, your innovators that are pushing the boundaries of what can be done, and that's very important. So that can demonstrate to governments and the rest of the industry of what can be achieved. But then to capture the rest of the 95% of the market is generally through policy, that raising that floor. So I think effectively to move the private sector, it's through force, it's through implementation of the policies.
Do you foresee mandatory laws in this regard?
I think globally we're going to see that, of course.
What about the MENA region?
I think, of course, we'll see the regulations change here, and I think that's where...
Is there any dialogue with the regulators in this regard? How is the process going?
I think there isn't a regulator in the world right now that's not looking at sustainability, net zero, decarbonization, climate change as forefront of their agenda. So, of course, yeah, there is dialogue taking place, some of it that we're aware of, some that we're not aware of, and it's all moving in that way. So I think for the private sector, this is coming. So you can either get on board now as be an early adopter and be ready for it, or it'll be more painful later.
Do you think the workforce is ready for that? The talent? The talent pool in the MENA region?
I believe so. Yeah, there's an extremely talented workforce in the region, but I think it needs to be directed in terms of what needs to be achieved. Once the targets, goals, objectives are set and then the policies come into place, the private sector and the workforce can adapt very quickly.
What about greenwashing after basically what happened in Switzerland and California and all that? How can we prevent greenwashing or minimize greenwashing in the MENA region from the consultancy perspective?
Regulation, again, regulation and transparency, and I think again it's no different to any other sector. You take banking and finance, you know what happened in 2008, 2009, you know, where the lack of regulation created a lot of these issues, right? So I think the sector ESG sustainability is at its start, it's in its infancy. It's not probably best regulated at the moment, and I think that regulation will come in, and we're just seeing it already with reporting and the way that you know, carbon's being disclosed, carbon credits. It's being a lot more regulated, and I think that will continue to increase over time. And I think we need to sort of welcome those sort of directives, transparency and regulation into the region as well.
Yeah, you have a very stretched operation in Europe, in Singapore, in Saudi Arabia, and here. How can you align the different practices for the Middle East region?
I think there's great innovation coming out of this region. There's great innovation coming out of Europe, out of Asia, and I think sharing that best practice is key. Whether it's not necessarily a one-way traffic of, you know, importing knowledge and best practice from overseas. There's a lot that's being created here, which, you know, us as consultants, we're exporting that as well into other regions. So I think it's learning from what's being done globally, but also applying it to the regional presence.
Green financing, again, is not something that is quite active, and it's usually not open. How can we make green financing for the sector more open?
I think we're seeing it a lot in the real estate sector now. We're seeing a lot of sustainable linked finance, sustainable linked bonds, sustainable REITs, but also we're seeing a lot of the...
But there were some issues with the REITs.
In what sense?
Irregularities and all this stuff?
Nothing that I'm aware specifically on the sustainable REITs. I know there has been issues. You know,
yes,
on a broader
that's what
scale,
I mean. That's what I mean. How can we avoid that at the sustainability front?
Regulation and transparency, and I think that's the key to a lot of it.
Okay, how is the appetite in this regard for a green?
I think on sustainable financing is huge, and it starts from the institutional finance. You're talking about sovereign wealth funds, large institutional players, which are, you know, mandating that their portfolios are shifting towards, you know, Paris Agreement aligned finance and loans. So when that happens at that level, then, you know, microfinance follows as well.
So you seem positive in terms of implementation. I am aware that there are lots of basically plans and strategies, but the challenge is with implementation. Do you think that the implementation is ongoing at fast pace?
Yeah, as I said, I'm positive in the sense that I think that the will is there and the capability is there. I don't think we're moving nearly fast enough. I think.
How can we make it faster?
I think
that's the challenge.
I think it needs to be through force, and I think policy is the big part of it. I think globally, and not specifically just for the region, I don't think policy and regulations moving fast enough to be able to shift the sector as quickly as we need it to be. I think education
I mean, for training and awareness?
I believe the solutions, the technical innovation, the technology all exists, right? And the capability all exists. But the sector needs to be moved quickly, and that's generally going to be through policy.
Mr. Al Abbar, thank you very much.
Thank you.